Part 1 of Masters of the Universe Revelation ends on a huge cliffhanger with the fate of He-Man and Skeletor revealed, and hidden in the first 5 episodes are a stack of clues you might have missed which also predict what could happen next. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm revealing all the crucial details from the new Netflix He-Man series, plus theories for Part 2. Many thanks to World of Tanks for sponsoring this video. Obviously spoilers ahead, so take care. The ending of Part 1 sees Adam, Teela and a band of heroes return to Eternia with the Sword of Power reforged thanks to Roboto's heroic sacrifice. The sword had been split in two when He-Man used it to absorb the exploding orb of power that Skeletor cracked open at the beginning of the series. The energy from the orb not only killed Adam, but also nearly all the magic that held Eternia together vanished when each half of the Sword of Power disappeared to Preternia and Subternia, aka Heaven and Hell. So when Adam holds a restored sword aloft and says, "By the power of Grayskull," he's able to call back the power and reinstate magic in Eternia. The Hall of Wisdom becomes Castle Grayskull again, and the Orb of Power is restored and locked away. However, just as Adam is about to complete the phrase and transform into He-Man, Skeletor makes a surprise return and stabs Adam through his midriff with his Havoc Staff. Skeletor, like He-Man, vanished when the Orb of Power exploded in the first episode, and he reveals that to avoid being completely destroyed by the blast, he hid his essence in Evil-Lyn's wand staff. Skeletor's trick was hinted at a number of times in earlier episodes, such as when Evil-Lyn's orb lit up mysteriously, and when it began whispering at one point. Save magic, save Eternia. And Teela, funnily enough, was unwittingly closer to the truth than she realised when she made a jibe at Evil-Lyn in the 3rd episode.
Take no life advice from the likes of Evil-Lyn, Andra. She's the only one here carrying around a Skeletor in her closet.
So, after Skeletor's shocking defeat of He-Man, which must be the first time in the animated franchise's history, the villain takes the Sword of Power for himself and says the magic words which transform him into a god version of himself, Skelegod.
Now I, Skeletor, am master of the universe!
Now let's talk about that possibly lethal stabbing that Skeletor landed on Adam. Notice the location of the wound, which is roughly around the same place in the middle of the body where Adam stabbed Skeletor in the 1st episode, and we know that he managed to survive that.
You finally used that sword the way it was meant to be used.
By the way, Skeletor's line there is a nod to how in the Filmation animated series, He-Man never used his sword in a violent way against his opponents, and as a kids show, the series as a whole also shied away from serious violence. Masters of the Universe Revelation is a continuation of the 80s series, however it's clearly a lot darker with real fights taking place between the characters, with some of them even trying to kill each other. And given this darker path for the new series, I think that initially in Part 2, Adam could well be confirmed dead. This would hit particularly hard as he was told before that if he left Preternia, that his next death would probably not allow him back into heaven.
If you were to return to Eternia, you might never be able to come back here. You would end as mortals do. In dirt.
However, there is precedence for He-Man dying in the franchise, specifically the He-Man Thundercats comic book crossover, where Adam also died and came back to life. After being brutally stabbed with the Sword of Power in the books, Adam was initially able to heal his mortal wounds by holding onto the sword while saying his classic catchphrase. Later, however, Adam died but was resurrected after being entombed with the Sword of Power. In the Netflix show, we might see something similar in Part 2, with Teela and the other heroes banding together again, this time to find a way to take the Sword of Power from Skeletor and revive Adam. Evil-Lyn might also be a key part of that, which I'll talk more about shortly. Orko is another major character who appeared to die, but I suspect he might not have. In the Land of the Dead episode, Orko confronted his fears that he'd never be able to control his magical abilities. As he and the team tried to leave Subternia, Skelegod arrived to attack them one final time. In a display of magical mastery, Orko froze the falling rocks that were about to fall on Teela and the others, then bravely fended off Skelegod, giving them an opportunity to escape.
Look! I'm doing it! I'm not afraid. He can't scare me.
Orko then trapped Skelegod with his magic rings and tried to blast him away.
Demon, be gone. Go back to your shadow!
The resulting explosion saw Orko and Skelegod vanish, while throwing Teela and co through the portal to Eternia, with just a fragment of Orko's cloak floating through the door as it closed. When Adam discovered what happened, he built a memorial stone to honour his fallen friend, assuming that he died. However, I don't think that's the case. In fact, Orko's battle with Skelegod in the underworld may have actually turned his character into a much darker version for part 2. And just before I reveal the truth about Dark Orko, I want to thank this video's sponsor, World of Tanks. World of Tanks is an epic online team game with over 100 million players worldwide, and it's free to play in glorious HD on your PC. The game's just launched a huge G.I. Joe crossover event with G.I. Joe Breakthrough and Cobra Battle Operational Assault Tank styles that runs till July 30th. With our special invite code, you'll get free G.I. Joe and Cobra emblems to customise your tanks. And if you complete one of the event's special themed missions, you'll get extra rewards to fully kit out your tank with bonus decals and inscriptions. World of Tanks is full of authentic historical detail, and with over 550 tanks available, you'll feel like a real commander. Plan a campaign with teammates and defeat your enemies in over 40 battle arenas. Download the game for free right now, and during registration use the invite code G.I. Joe 21 to activate in-game missions and receive free G.I. Joe emblems to decorate your tanks. The code also gets you a T14 tank tier 5, 500,000 credits, and 7 days of a premium account completely free. The download link and invite code are in the video description. To understand why we may be getting Dark Orko in part 2, we need to look at what happened to Orko in the DC Universe versus the Masters of the Universe comics. In that comic book storyline, Orko ended up absorbing an evil force when he tried to destroy the Skull of Power, and that unlocked the mental barriers that had been holding him back, transforming him into Dark Orko. That's an interesting parallel with what happens to Orko in the Land of the Dead, where he explained how he struggled with magic when he was young, but then we see him master it later in his showdown with Skelegod. During that crucial battle, Orko summoned an immense amount of magic and tried to banish the villain, similar to how he tried to destroy the Skull of Power in the comics. That attempt to defeat Skelegod, who was holding on to Orko during the explosion which followed, may have transformed the Trollon into something else. For example, if he absorbed some of the evil being's megalomaniac traits and wicked powers. The gold rings that Orko conjured during his encounter with Skelegod are similar to the fiery rings of magic that Dark Orko uses in the comic, and the shadow beasts that attack Orko and Evil-Lyn in Eternia are a little reminiscent of the horde that Dark Orko unleashes in the comic. We might find that in part 2 of Revelation, Dark Orko has replaced Skelegod as the ruler of the underworld, commanding an army of shadow monsters himself now. I think introducing Dark Orko could add another intriguing element to the show, as it would be quite unexpected and in keeping with the darker themes and tone of the new series. My other big prediction for part 2 and beyond is that although Evil-Lyn switched back to Skeletor's side, she may end up betraying him and even helping the good guys again in the future.
I really was starting to like you kids.
Perhaps Evil-Lyn thought it was best to feign she was still loyal to her villainous boss in that moment, with a view to potentially usurping him at a later point. After all, she regretted some of the time she'd spent working for him.
Instead of fulfilling my destiny, I spent a lifetime helping him fulfill his.
In the 80s animated series, Evil-Lyn sometimes carried out her own schemes independent of Skeletor. In fact, in the episode The Witch and the Warrior, when Lyn found herself having to work with Teela, she revealed that what she was really after was her own power.
I have no loyalty to Skeletor. It is power I want. Someday, I'll seize it from him.
I very much expect that at some point in Revelation, Evil-Lyn will end up being full-on resentful of being Skeletor's sidekick. On top of that, I think she may have grown genuinely fond of Teela and the gang, and we saw a glimpse of that when she opened up to Orko during their time together in the underworld.
No, they didn't call me evil. I added that part later.
Lyn also used the last of her magic to conjure the doorway that would take them all from Eternia to Eternia, which Orko said proved that she might not be so bad deep down.
Turns out nobody's born evil.
So if Skeletor doesn't give Lyn any real opportunities for power in part 2, which I don't expect he will now he's Skelegod, I think she may well end up turning against him and even possibly helping Teela out as well. We also need to talk about Teela, as there are many hints to a secret side of her that hasn't yet been fully revealed. In fact, there were several moments in part 1 where somebody was about to reveal a big secret about her, but they got cut off.
There's something I have to tell you.
Oh no, we don't have time for—
Because you have a special... Don't you understand?
Teela, there's something...
Don't. I don't want to hear it.
The secret that everyone seems to want to tell Teela is that, spoiler alert, her mother is the sorceress of Castle Grayskull. This was something revealed to Teela in the second episode of the Filmation series.
You are my own daughter. You will take my place as the mystic guardian of Grayskull.
At the time, however, the sorceress decided to wipe Teela's memory of that knowledge.
You have other deeds to do. You must forget what you have learned today.
And this secret is why the sorceress calls Teela to Castle Grayskull when she fears she might die during Skeletor's attack.
I wanted to see you, Teela, one last time.
Me?
We see how Teela has been avoiding dealing with a sense that she's different when the evil version of herself confronts her in Eternia.
Pretending to be ordinary, when you know, deep down, you are so much more.
And how that must terrify you.
Teela admits to Skelegod that she's never understood her power, but then proves her connection to her magical heritage as she manifests the missing piece of the Sword of Power by herself.
What are you?
Notice these 3 marks that appear on Teela's forehead momentarily as she creates a sword, as I think we'll see those again in the future. As the original Filmation series suggests, Teela may take over from her mother the sorceress as the Guardian of Grayskull, should she ever die or need to step down. And although Teela was able to call on her power that one time in the underworld, she will need to fully embrace her magical side if she wants to take over that role. So what did you think of Motu Revelation, and do you have any theories on what could happen next? And did you spot any other details or interesting Easter eggs? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. You can tap left to check out my next video, or tap right for something else you're sure to like. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!